G'day course creators, welcome back to my channel. I've seen it too many times. Eager new course creators diving headfirst into a mammoth course build, only to end up with incoherent and non-linear content, dollars lost to tech investment, the audible sound of crickets in their bank account, and the overwhelming urge to crawl into the fetal position and double fist a bottle of wine and a pint of Ben & Jerry's. Building and launching a course can be overwhelming AF, and a gung-ho attitude will only get you so far. That's why in today's video, I'm keeping it real and helping you to determine if you are actually ready to launch your own online course. If you want to set yourself up for success and avoid those build and launch motions, then keep on watching. Let's get started by deciding what are the details of your course. Firstly, what type of course are you going to create? If you're not sure what type of courses are even available, why don't you check out this video where I break down the 8 different types of courses that you can create in your business. If you don't have experience building a course, then I highly recommend starting with some of the smaller, perhaps free or low-cost courses so that you can cut your teeth and start to get an understanding of how the course creation process happens and how you're cut out for it. And then, what are you actually going to teach them? No doubt you have so many things that you're brilliant at in your expertise that you could impart, but it's really about finding that sweet spot between what your audience wants and what they're willing to pay for and what you can teach them. Remember, you don't have to be an expert or a guru in order to teach someone something. You only need to be a few steps ahead of them on the path that they are already pursuing and be able to convince them that you're the ideal person to teach them how to take those next steps. Once you have an understanding of the type of course you're going to create and what it's going to be about, it's time to look at your audience. And I recommend starting with an audience. It's important that you're not going from a base of 0, even if you're deciding to create a freebie course, because ultimately you want to get that course in people's hands and minds so that you can be testing if the content is actually valuable. After all, it's not worth creating a course just for the sake of creating one. You want to be helping people get some kind of transformation and for you to be getting data back on exactly what your audience wants. If you're creating any kind of course, with perhaps the exception of the freebie, I recommend starting with at least 250 people on your email list, not in your socials. And the reason for that is you can pretty quickly determine how warm or cold your audience is within an email list as opposed to the social audiences. Sure, there are ways that you can be creating more engagement in your socials, but it's really hard to determine how warm they are until you put a paid offer in front of them. Whereas with an email list, if people are actively opening your emails and consuming them and clicking through, you can start to feel like they're more likely to purchase. It's also just really important to know who makes up your audience and also who you'd like your ideal student for your course to be or what you want them to look like. In particular, the demographics. So are they male or female? What's their age? What's their relationship status? What's their socioeconomic status? What's their income? You need to have an understanding of all these things, as that's going to really significantly influence whether you're ready if you don't know that information, and also how you're going to build the content, set pricing, all of that kind of thing. You're also going to want to know their buying habits. You're going to want to know where they hang out online, because if you know that, you'll know how to find them when it comes time to market and sell your course. So now you know your course type, you know your course topic, and you also know you have an audience ready and primed to purchase from you. It's time to look at what your investment is going to be, because whether we like it or not, building a course can be an expensive exercise. Whilst there are definitely lots of options to keep the cost low, there are no doubt going to be costs that come up that perhaps you haven't considered. And if you haven't, it could stall you partway through your build process. First off, let's look at the tech investments. And because we've already determined that you're going to have some version of an email list, I hope that you have those emails stored in an email marketing software to make things easy in communicating with your new potential students. You'll also potentially need a website and an online course platform dependent upon what type of course you've decided you're going to build. And whilst it might feel that if you have an email marketing software, a website, and a course platform that you're good to go, you could still be up for a whole heap of tech cost. When you think about graphic design, video conference software, webinar software if you're deciding to launch via a webinar, funnel software if you're deciding to automate that course, and also potentially support software if you're deciding that you need some sophisticated way to be managing any student questions, queries, or complaints. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed at all the tech you hadn't considered, never fear, I've created a tech toolbox that you can grab here or in the description below, and it lists all of the different softwares that I recommend to help get your new course out into the digital world. On top of the tech considerations, you also need to be thinking about social media and what advertising you might decide you want to do. I don't recommend doing advertising when you're first starting out, but if it's something you want to consider in the future, that can be a really big financial outlay. So make sure you've got a plan in place and perhaps some trigger points at which you decide you're going to start rather than putting yourself out financially. The other thing to consider is with all of these different softwares and with all the different elements that go into building and creating and launching and marketing and promoting a course, you might decide that you are not the best equipped to do all of those things. And you know what? That's fine, because what you're great at is the stuff you're going to teach. So you might decide that outsourcing is a good option for you, especially if you find that there are tasks that are holding you back or stalling you along the build process. So we've talked about the financial investment, but the other investment a lot of people forget about is the time involved. And I'm going to be real again, there is a lot of time you're going to need to dedicate to this, depending again upon what kind of course you're creating. But even a simple intro course does take time. You can be expecting to, just in the build phase of your course, be looking at anywhere between a month at the best case scenario, and really like a year or beyond a year. And again, that's because dependent upon the volume of information you're trying to teach and putting it all together in a coherent format is really going to determine how long it takes. And that's just to build. If you're talking about marketing and launching, that can take even longer. And again, it's about building that audience and making sure that you're grabbing all the data with the intention of relaunching. I highly recommend, if you're going to go down the course creation road and commit to adding a course to your business, that you have a really long-term vision with it. You want to be able to launch it, learn from any mistakes that you made in the first launch, and continue to relaunch and tweak until you find this perfect format that just works on autopilot for you. So again, without trying to scare you away from the idea of creating a course, I want you to really think seriously about what the time investment is, and if you can afford to make that investment of time with everything else that's going on in your business. And whilst I might sound a little bit doom and gloom, the other thing I like to encourage all of my clients to do is plan for the best case scenario as well. What if your course went gangbusters? This is potentially a high quality problem, but still a problem, because you may not be ready for your course to go to scale. So without going overboard and doing too much planning, I really recommend thinking about what you would do if you had an influx of students come in. How would you support them? How would you handle the payments? And would you change anything about the course that you are currently creating? Okay, so we've got our course type, we've got our course topic, we've got our audience sorted, and we've decided, yes, we can handle the financial and time investment. It's time to look at your goals. What do you want to achieve with your course? Do you want it to be the primary revenue stream in your business, in which case you're definitely going to be going down the relaunch mode and making sure you're tweaking, and it's going to be a long time thing? Or is this going to be something that's a little supplementary income that adds to your business and just adds to the experience that perhaps your clients or your customers are already having with your business? It's also really important just to put a really specific financial goal around your course, because otherwise you're just kind of flying in the wind and you've got no target to aim for. So get a dollar figure, figure out how many students that means you'd have to enroll, and if you're not sure about how to do all the math involved in getting to that ultimate number, make sure you check out this video where I talk about the math involved in pricing your course. You also need to consider, are you being realistic with your expectations of yourself and of the financial goal that you're setting? If it's a really big, hairy, audacious goal, great, I'm so pleased, but also make sure that you're not adding to that expectation a time expectation, because if you think that you're going to hit that big, hairy, audacious goal by a certain date, you could really be setting yourself up for failure. And I'm all about setting yourself up for success. So make sure you go away and you think about, does your audience that you currently have meet the number that you want to generate? It likely won't, and it will mean that you need to build your audience. So you need to get some realistic expectations around exactly how long that's going to take. To help you out, I've developed a launch calculator, so make sure you grab that in the description below to help you realize exactly what kind of mountain you have to climb in terms of your audience building. So we've got our course type, we've got our course topic, we've got our audience, we've got our financial investment, our time investment, and our goals all settled. But are you ready up here? Are you ready mindset wise to dive into this creation process? Because I promise you, if you haven't already been feeling all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, online course creation will get you there. First and foremost, you don't have to be an expert or a guru to teach the topic that you've chosen, but you do have to be confident in the material. And whilst it might feel like to be confident in the material is just about knowing it, there's also an element of trusting your knowledge in that topic. And if you are doubting that you're able to teach, or if you're doubting that you know enough, it could be more a limiting belief than the reality of what you actually know. So check in with yourself. Where is the disbelief in your confidence in knowing the topic coming from? You also need to prepare yourself for potential eventualities, like what if you didn't sell a single spot in your first launch? Believe you me, this happens to a lot of newbie course creators, myself included in the very first course that I created. But you can't let that stop you, and you need to be aware of exactly what that would help you feel like if that was to happen. So do a little exercise and try and tune into what you would be making that mean about yourself if that were to happen. You need to re-educate your mind and your mindset to understand that if that was to happen, it's not about you being a bad teacher or a bad course creator. It's more about something to do with the creation of the course or something to do with the marketing of it was off. And it's an opportunity for you to go put your investigator hat on and find what didn't quite work. Look at it as an opportunity, get curious, let it be fun and light. Don't let it be something that drags you down and makes you feel like you need to stop what you're doing. Even if your course does sell, you could find yourself sabotaging yourself because it all feels too good to be true. And it's important to look at in the past where you might have sabotaged a good thing because you decided that it was too good for true and you weren't deserving and worthy of it. If you have an understanding of what your triggers are and when they pop up, you can put in place plans to either combat them when they do show up or avoid them altogether. And again, like I said, be realistic with your expectations and set yourself up for small successes. If you're able to look back on evidence of lots of small successes, it helps drive you towards those bigger goals and aspirations. But if you feel like everything that you've done is a failure because you've set too big a goals for yourself to start off with and too big a milestones, then you're only going to stop yourself in the tracks and take so much longer to you finally getting to this super successful course that you so desire. And then just to sprinkle a little bit of woo on all of the mindset stuff, I also highly recommend doing a little bit of active manifesting around your course. Whether it's a bit of money manifestation or manifesting in the type of clients, there are so many different ways that you can do this, journaling, meditating, whatever is your flavor. I recommend going out and putting out those positive vibes, because even if you're not super woo, just getting into that high wavelength, high vibration state where you feel like anything is possible is just going to improve your mood enough to actually enjoy the process and avoid falling into those failure mindsets and victim mindsets that are only going to hold you back. It cannot be understated that building and launching an online course is a significant and demanding undertaking. If you've checked in with yourself, your business, and your short to medium term goals and decided that you're up for the challenge of building an online course, then it's time to validate your course topic idea. In my next video, I'll help you decide if your audience is actually ready to hand over some of that hard-earned dollars for a slice of your magical expertise. If you would rather launch your course to a mob of enthusiastic and eager would-be students ready to throw their cash at you, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't lose a single second to mediocre course building. Until then, I hope you keep sharing your expertise, skyrocketing your sales, and exploding your impact. And I will see you in the next video.